In this video, we shall discuss the figures of speech in the lesson A Roadside Stand. First of all, we observe the third line, a roadside stand that too pathetically played. In this line, we find the use of personification. Reason for this? A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. It shows that the roadside stand is pleading, and thus here the poet has shown as if the roadside stand itself is a person which is pleading, and therefore it has been treated as a person, and so the figures of personification. Next, the flower of cities from sinking and withering fade. In this line, we see there is metaphor. Why? Because flower of city implies the glamour, the prosperity, the grandeur of the city. And all this has been compared with the flower of city without using like, as, or so. A direct comparison has been used, and therefore the figures of speech is metaphor. Polished traffic, the very next line. In this, the figures of speech is transferred epithet. Reason? Since the traffic itself is not polished. In fact, the polished or sophisticated are those people who are sitting in the car, and therefore the polished epithet has been used for traffic, but the polished are the people, and therefore the adjective from people has been transferred to traffic, and thus the figures of is transferred epithet. Next, in greedy good doers and beneficent beasts of prey. Here we find two types of figures of speech. In greedy good doers, since there is a repetition of consonant GG in greedy and good, and therefore, on one hand, if we find alliteration here, then on the other hand, we notice the use of oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech where two contradictory ideas are placed side by side, yeah? One after the other. So, on one hand, the people who ask the villagers that they would help them settle close to the marketplaces, close to the theater, they pose or they pretend as good doers, but in fact, they are greedy. So, greedy and good doers, they are two contradictory things placed together, and so the figures of speech is oxymoron at the same time alliteration. Now, the same thing is there in beneficent beast of prey. On one hand, they are beneficent, and on the other hand, they are beast of prey. So, oxymoron. Beneficent and beast, in these two words, we find the repetition of consonant letter B at the beginning, and therefore the figures of speech is alliteration. Another figures of speech we notice in selfish cars. Again, here cars are not selfish. Those people who are sitting in the car, they are selfish, and therefore once again we notice that the figures of speech is transferred epithet because the adjective or epithet selfish has been transferred from people to cars. So these are the figures of speech which have been used in the poem A Roadside Stand. And they are personification, metaphor, alliteration, oxymoron, and trans. I hope you all understood the use of the figures of speech in this poem very well. And at the same time, I hope you like my this very short video. If you liked, please share this with your friends. And at the same time, if you have not subscribed to my channel so far, do it now so that in future whenever I make a new for you, it could reach to you first. You watched it. For that, thank you very much. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद